Well, it looks like it's 9 o'clock, so I'm going to call the meeting of the September 16th, 2020 Chairs Meeting breakfast to order. And welcome everyone. And people will obviously joining us as we continue here. So good morning. For those of you who are, I want to remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded. And for those of you who are new to the Chair's Breakfast as we go along, as people join us. Just want to remind you that we try to meet once every month. It's an opportunity for us to have a wider perspective of all the work that the committees are doing on behalf of the town and to get to know some of our fellow volunteers on these committees. I do know that beginning with the COVID Zoom meetings, that the time meeting was changed from 7:30 in the morning till 9. And I realize that there's no one good time that is best for everyone. But if you have particular issues with that, if you could quick drop an email to Jeremy or to myself and just say Concord meeting, Chair's meeting time, and let us know what that conflict is. We'll try to take into account the majority. As those of you who are veterans to this group know, that the chairs are usually the ones who are here representing their committee, but should you have a conflict, it's important to designate someone from your committee to be here. So thank you and welcome to everyone who's just joining us. My name is Linda Escobedo. For those of you who may not know me, I'm on the select board. We try to keep this meeting to an hour. It's not always possible to do that, but we do our best, and that depends on the succinctness of the presentations that you make in terms of giving us highlights of what's on your current agenda items for your committees, as well as giving us heads up on each other on what might be coming down the pike in terms of key issues. We also, when possible, have an interchange by having the opportunity to ask each other key questions to keep our committee activities moving and or get some feedback on something that's critical. We don't always have as much time for that kind of engagement as I'd like to see on this committee. And partly that's because of the number of the committees that the select board and the town are trying to all come together and coordinate on. But where there is some key issue that you need to reach out to your fellow committees, and this is the opportunity to at least highlight that. Do take the opportunity. I do know that this morning, Ellen Quackenbush, you had asked if we can go earlier in your presentation, and we'll try to accommodate that. Before we start, however, let me say that I've particularly invited Carmen Reese, our town manager, here this morning, having just come off of a successful town meeting on Sunday. And we certainly owe an incredible debt of gratitude to her for moderating and orchestrating a town meeting in, as we know, an unprecedented year. I don't think any of us, any one person is going to fully be able to appreciate what it took over many months to pull this off. So Carmen, thank you for being here this morning, and thank you to you and so many people across town departments and staff. And I hesitate to name names because we always leave out people, but in the committees who had a key role in some of the warrant articles. So congratulations, Carmen, and we're interested to hear your preliminary outtake on Sunday. Good to see you in such good shape.
Well, thank you so much. And it, really, it does literally take a village, and there's no way that this town meeting would have been pulled off without the help of so many people. So I was very grateful to have so many hands pulling oars and all in the same direction. It was a great team effort. I do want to note that the town of Andover had their annual town meeting on Saturday. of last weekend. Theirs took 6 hours, and ours took 3 hours and 1 minute. So I feel really great about that.
I'm not sure we've been out there 6 hours.
So obviously we did a lot of unusual things this year in order to streamline the meeting. And I didn't do an exit survey of voters the way I usually do at town meeting, because my general feeling was there just wasn't going to be a whole lot useful out of the experience of this meeting for carrying forward, because I'm really hoping this is a one-off. But that said, if any of you particularly appreciated anything that we did this year that you would like to see us keep going forward, send me an email to moderator@concordma.gov. And I want to note that in a terrible faux pas, I omitted the name of Richard W. Wheeler from our in memoriam page in the meeting materials. He was a former selectman here in town and a great Concordian, and he too passed this year. So the online version of the meeting materials has been amended to include Rick Wheeler's name, and I feel real bad about that omission, but Linda, as you said, as soon as you begin recognizing people, you run the risk that you leave somebody who needs to be recognized, deserves to be recognized out. So there it is. But I mention him now because he's very deserving of recognition. So thank you all.
Thank you, Carmen. And I hope you at least can catch your breath here for a couple days with some well-deserved rest. I doubt it, though.
Thanks.
Oh, all right. So I think Ellen will begin with you for the committee reports. Can I ask, though, that all of us today, particularly in addition to your own reports, that you highlight any vacancies you have, and we'll go from there. All
Ellen
right.
was chair of the personnel board. We have one vacancy. I didn't meet last month, so I don't, my report will be very quick. What's upcoming is to take a sharp focus look at the personnel board, reduce some of the transactional work that we do, and focus really on strategic stuff, which is really recruiting and retaining high quality employees for the town. That's it.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to call based on the lineup I have on my screen. I'll do the best I can here. John Kretsley.
Oh. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm John Kretsley. Excuse me, it's actually my last chair's meeting. I'm the outgoing chair of the Community Preservation Act Committee. And of course, a big thank you to the Select Board and the FinCom for putting our article on the consent calendar, because it just went right through to the great satisfaction of everyone and who worked so hard to put those 10 projects together. And their letters and award letters are starting to go out this week. The new chair will be Tom Kearns, who's been our vice chair. And Jeremy, if you're on the line, we need to get him into the chair's breakfast. We had an open meeting last night to listen to interested applicants. There were 2 community applications, one about restoration of the flagpole at Emerson Field, one about restoration of the Wright Tavern, structural restoration, all looking to 2025 as our town will be in the historic spotlight. There are 9 town applications that were mentioned, so we've got work to do. And formal applications are due on the 9th of October. And there are no vacancies. We look like we're ready to go.
Very good, thank you. David Carr.
Okay, yeah, so tax relief committee, well, our one piece of business in town meeting passed, so now we have to take that to the legislature. Although I guess it's formally the select board takes it to the legislature, so but I'm sure we'll be monitoring the process. We have one vacancy, and we have, I was trying to count, I think 4 members whose terms are up at the end of at the next town meeting, and I hope by that time we've decided whether we have a committee going forward or whether we're, whether we have some other project we're going to take up in terms of increasing tax fairness. And if anyone has any bright ideas, we're here. And I think that's it for me. One vacancy.
Thank you very much. Rick Eifler.
Morning, everyone. I'll start by thanking CPA and everyone who supported the Concord Housing Authority's application for the CPA funds that were approved at town meeting. We're very thankful to get our $300,000 for our little house on Commonwealth Avenue. And our next step on that project is to get a site engineer to confirm where our existing building sits relative to the wetlands mapping, and try to confirm that we're not going to have any major wetland issues on that project before we hire our architect. We have an executive director change coming up in the near future. We will be forming a search committee this fall, and although we might have moved faster in a non-coronavirus environment, we're hanging on to our existing staff and executive director through the start of the winter, just to make sure that we're safe, and we'll probably be advertising our executive director position the first of the year. In terms of vacancies, we're incredibly confused as to whether we have a board vacancy or not. Our board member Fatima Mezdad was elected to the school committee, and I think has probably started with the school committee by now. But we don't have any confirmation from either the town clerk or Fatima herself as to whether we actually have a vacancy on our board for her position. So anybody who can work on getting a confirmation for us for that, please do. I've emailed the town clerk, I've emailed Fatima, and we'll start pursuing the filling of that vacancy if in fact we have a vacancy.
Rick, she was seated last night on the Concord School Committee.
Okay, that's good to know, and that doesn't necessarily, as far as I know, doesn't necessarily mean we have a vacancy on our board. So I'm still looking for confirmation on that.
Carmen, my understanding is that no one is able to hold two elected offices in town. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. I think that Fatima may need to officially resign, however, just for I dotting and T crossing.
Yeah, if anybody knows that there is of an actual rule that makes that automatic, let me know, or let the town clerk know so she can let me know. Otherwise, I think we're waiting on Fatima's confirmation.
Yeah, we've dealt with this in the past, so I'm certain that Kari Tari knows the answer, but she's been pretty distracted. So I would guess that that she's now coming up for air, having gone through the election and town meeting. So you'll be able to get her attention shortly.
Okay. So just in terms of process, when we get notice of that vacancy, we'll notify the select board, and then we'll have a joint meeting, and we'll select someone to fill that position. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Rick. Edward Nardi?
Yes, good morning. I'm here substituting for Greg Higgins this morning, who had a conflict. Nothing to necessarily highlight at the NRC. It's been a robust schedule this summer, and for the most part, business as usual. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Sarah Wilson?
Good morning. Hi. As of last night, I am the regional chair of the school committee. I'm from Carlisle. This is my first chair's breakfast. I don't know how much of a report you need, so I might invite Court Booth to co-present as he is the Concord chair. And just want to say many thanks to the organization and all the work that went into passing all of the budget measures and warrants that related to the school at the town meeting. And school's up and running. Beyond that, Court, I don't know, what else should we add?
Linda, is that okay?
That's terrific. Welcome, Sarah, and go ahead, Court.
Yeah, and I'll echo that. Thank you, Sarah, for taking this on. Sarah is going to be supported by Heather Bout as the vice chair at the region. I assumed the chair of the Concord School Committee with Cynthia Rainey as vice chair, and the four of us, as well as the other members, were seated last night. New members, Fatima Mezded and Alexa Alexander. So we now are at full strength. We haven't been for a couple of months now. And there will be 2 vacancies next year. So there'll be 2 openings for the race next year. The big news, of course, is that we opened K-12, that we were the first public school in Massachusetts to get open, and one of the very few to bring back students every day at the elementary level, because we have enough real estate to do it. We're very blessed. Those schools have served us very, very well. And we're doing what you can consider now to be a traditional COVID hybrid at the middle school and high school. And with you, I'm sure, Sarah and I are feeling anxious every day, hoping that students and the community behaves so that we can keep these schools open. Right now, it's all up to the practices of the people in those buildings, because our buildings are in good shape, the ventilation is in good shape, the protocols are in good shape, the compliance by students and teachers is remarkable so far. Couple of other things. We settled with the Concord Carlisle Teachers Association. They agreed to a 1-year contract with a 1.75 COLA, and they took everything off the table other than that, so we could just get through this year. And we can say with some confidence that CTA, the Concord Teachers Association, having already professed a desire to follow on the CCTA, probably will, but in that it's incomplete, I can't say more than that at this point. Study and consideration about COVID testing continues. We wish there were more certainty about what is available to us and what results or benefits it would yield. So that's still underway. The Concord Middle School Building Committee, we expect, will resume late October or November, and it's looking at a possible fall 2021 town meeting. So that would result in a 1-year delay from earlier plans. You know that we bid goodbye to Wally Johnston, somebody you all know, and that was with regrets. He was such a strong leader for us. So I'm sure he'll land somewhere else. I think he already has, actually, on another committee already. And what else? We're grateful for the town's support for buses, grateful to Brian for his work on the 2 electric buses and on the middle school stabilization fund. And I think that's the extent of our report tonight, or this morning, excuse me. I'm still coming off last night's meeting.
I know the feeling. Thank you, Sarah and Court. Carmen, if I may direct attention to you as a result of something Court mentioned, which is, and it's hard to even ask this question at this point in the juncture, but are you at this point planning on and the next town meeting being in April as of this point?
So that's a select board decision. And I actually had intended to send you an email, Linda, suggesting to you that the select board think very seriously about scheduling the next town meeting for June instead of April.
Yeah.
So that if we need to do it outdoors, it will be an easy option. April will be a tough month to have an outdoor meeting.
Thank you.
Or the end of May would also work, and I know there are many other considerations in terms of timing and so forth, but I think it's worth thinking about pushing our town meeting further into the better weather so that we have an outdoor option.
Yeah, I realize that you will be coming to speak to the select board next week, and we'll have a chance to talk about this. But I at least, given that Court mentioned the issue for Carlisle, I guess it was, in terms of what they're looking at right now, I wanted to at least get some heads up on that. So thank you.
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to resume with the committee reports, if I may, and I think Brian Foles.
Hi. Linda, do you mind if I ask participants to put the, at the end of their name, put the board they're representing? So you can see in the end of my name, it says CAAB.
Yeah, well, we'll certainly consider that for the next time, if not today. So go ahead, Brian.
Okay. So CAB has been continuing its work on reducing greenhouse gases. Our next meeting is later tonight at 6 o'clock, and we plan to do draft a letter on updating the state stretch code to help create a net zero code for buildings in Concord going forward, but we can't do it locally. We have to do it at the state level. So we're advocating for a good resolution to two bills that are being worked out. We're also starting the plans for the update of the greenhouse gas inventory to see how we compare to 2016 for our 2020 goal. We are also recapping what went on at town meeting and starting to make plans for the following town meeting. So I'm glad to hear the update of a preference for a June meeting that helps us think about timetables. And then we're also looking at electing new officers. I've been chair for a while, and I want to give someone else the opportunity.
Do you have any vacancies right now, Brian?
No, we have a waiting list.
Okay, thank you. Andrea.
Hi, I'm representing Paul. I'm here for Paul Cook, who's the chair of our cemetery committee. And we don't have much news to report. We've been able to keep meeting over Zoom and keep up with the usual business, as well as prioritize some special projects we have, like headstone restoration and record scanning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Happy.
Hi, Happy Guzer from the Agriculture Committee. And we just finished Ag Week last week, which I hope was a success. The feedback on our open free events like flower picking and pumpkin painting and the veggie racer on Saturday were filled. So many people did come and enjoy the outdoors and an agriculture committee as well as visiting farms. I do have a question about election of officers. Are we considering the year beginning October to May, or are we doing October to October? What are the terms?
Well, I think at this point, we should treat the fiscal year from this point through June 30th.
Linda, if I might, I think typically our committee terms run through the day following annual town meeting.
Well, I was going to go there next. So thank you, Carmen.
Yeah, because I think we're a little bit fluid since we don't exactly know when annual town meeting is. So it might be April, or it might be May, or it might be June.
Okay.
So after town meeting, FY21 town meeting concludes is the clearest way to capture that. Thank you. All right. Were you finished, Happy?
And we do have at least 2 openings on our board.
Thank you. Okay. Jim.
I'm representing the Public Works Commission. We probably have 1 opening. As you are probably aware, activities have continued all around the town. The drop-off is going to occur in October. However, the swap-off will not occur. Details will be coming in the future because there are obviously more concerns about social distancing even while we are eliminating trash that we've got. The Cambridge Turnpike work is continuing. The first half of the road is open. The second half of the road still has a lot of work near the dam. The expectation is that it will be finished by the end of the construction season. That's a hope. There is currently a watering restriction in town, 1 day a week on the day that the municipal trash comes to your neighborhood is the time that it is appropriate for watering. There are a number of residences that have automatic watering that have been continuing in that regard, but that's a concern. Right now, Nagog Pond is offline, so we are relying on all of our wells. So water conservation is important. If we have any hot weather, we're going to be more of a challenge, but hopefully we'll get through the end of the year. That's it.
Thank you, Jim. Okay. Carol Ann?
Hi, I'm Ann Hannon. I'm chair of the Council on Aging Board, and we have not met since the last chair's breakfast. We have our next meeting next week. And at that meeting, we will elect our new officers, so that might change. We have 3 people whose terms are ending, including mine, and I'm hoping to continue for another 3 years. We have an associate member who will take one of our seats and a potential member who will take the other. So we're looking for 2 new associate members. And that's it.
Thank you, Caroline. Okay, Mary?
Good morning. Thanks, Linda. My name is Mary Hartman. I'm the incoming chair of the Finance Committee. We actually don't have any vacancies, which is amazing because we have a 15-member board. So we hold, Carmen did a good job of getting some really good qualified people on our board. If this was a normal year, we would be taking a breather after town meeting and then slowly getting ready for the September beginning of our FY22 budget. And we are required by the town bylaws to publish a guideline. And a guideline actually looks at just the operating budgets, which is 78% of total spending. So it's a big chunk of money. And we are required to publish a guideline for those budgets by the end of November. So we have 2 short months to think of what do we think we can afford to spend in FY22 when we just approved the FY21 budgets a few days ago. So we have a lot of work to do within the next few weeks to get ready, but we've got a full board. We've got some veterans on the board. So I think we'll be in good shape.
Thank you, Mary, and good luck with the timeline. I know it's tight. Peter?
Yes, hi Linda, thank you. Peter Nobley, I'm chair of the Historic Districts Commission. Just a couple things. We do have 1 vacancy at the moment. We continue to work with the Library Corporation and the Commission on Disabilities, looking at a revision, a possible revision to the parking at the new library addition at the main library. We were grateful to see all that community preservation funding go through because several projects on Monument Square are going to be undergoing pretty substantial renovations this coming year. And that's about it. So thank you.
Peter, do you happen, have we already passed the public forums on the parking?
Yes, the second one was yesterday or Monday. I think there may be another one. I think I see Jean Goldsberry here. There were a couple people on that meeting. There were two. I think the last meeting on Monday, there were about 35 or 40 people, so it was well attended. The Library Corporation is going back now, I think, to decide what to do next. So there'll be further public input, I think.
Thank you. Okay, Kristen.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kristen Ferguson. I'm with the Planning Board. We had a couple of, or have a couple of big projects going on right now before us. The first one is a subdivision in West Concord, 1440 Main Street or so. We are getting, quite a bit of public input about that. We also just made a recommendation on Chase Bank in West Concord on Baker Ave and Main Street there. There's a lot of public comment about that as well. So those were kind of that was one big one, and the subdivision is going to likely be one that we have to look carefully at. And then the larger long-term project for us is the redevelopment, or kind of coming up with some new zoning bylaws for the redevelopment of the Thoreau Business District. And as you heard in town meeting, people feel very strongly about that corner there, that intersection where the Starbucks is, and making that more safe. And so hopefully that's part of the bigger picture. But one of the questions that has come to me is, who would people talk to if they wanted to recommend more signage or more compliance with safety at that intersection? So I didn't know if that was Public Works. Thought maybe somebody on this committee might know where I can have that person direct their comment. Carmen, do you have an idea?
There is a public safety committee that includes Public Works and the police department, and whoever the public safety officer is on the police department right now, is that Captain Mulcahy? Might be. But if you check in at the police department, you'll be able to find out who the public safety officer is right now. And that would be where you would go to have that conversation.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm on the town website, and there is a traffic calming committee or group.
I saw that, but I didn't know if that was actually seated, or if, I know we have so many committees right now that.
Yeah, I don't think it's a citizen committee. I think it's senior leadership, police, Public Works, so forth. So I'm gonna put in the chat. Oh, we don't have a chat.
That's right. I found that also. So thank you. I appreciate those suggestions. Yeah. All right, and I think that's all the big excitement with the planning board. Otherwise, you did hear that at town meeting that the zoning bylaw for the additional dwelling unit was passed, and so we hope to see some new housing choices in the next year or so as a result.
And do you have any vacancies right now, Kristen?
We actually don't. We're asking the select board to nominate to fill Matt Johnson's seat, and that should be our 7th. Thank you.
Correct. Thank you. Okay. Melissa.
Hi, good morning. Thank you. And I too would like to just say to Carmen, what a fabulous job. It was probably one of the most pleasant town meetings certainly I've ever experienced. I represent, I'm chair of the Historical Commission, at least I'm chair to October, which our next meeting, which we would use to nominate and vote on a new chair. There would be 2 vacancies, but I think both myself and my colleague Nancy Nelson would like to stay on, so that will be addressed next month. We had a meeting last week with the Historical Commission and unanimously voted to proceed with drafting a warrant article for next year that would amend the demolition delay bylaw, which we have felt for some time has not been strong enough. Having lived in Concord a long time and going to a lot of town meetings, we know probably incrementalism is the way to go. So we are only changing a couple things and hoping that this will succeed. One is to, when we describe an historically significant property, we're going to say, instead of dating from 1941, we will say that it is 50 years or more years old. That may seem like a big change, but a lot of houses may not be historically important, but it might mean that more people have to come before us to raise awareness of the importance of historic properties and significant people who've lived in some of these houses. The other thing that we're going to change is right now, the delay runs from the date of submitting the application rather than the date we have a public hearing. So in effect, the delay can sometimes be as short as 8.5, 9 months rather than an entire year. We are hoping this might discourage some folks from tearing down a house rather than consider maybe retrofitting it, refurbishing it, rather than destroying a lot of what has made the character of Concord what it is today. So we will proceed with that. Other issues come before us, but I think that's probably the most important thing. And this will be the first change to the bylaw in years, so we're rather excited about it.
Can I ask a question? Is that, so that'll be before next town meeting?
Yeah, next year. In May, June, July, whenever.
Whenever it is, right. Thanks.
Thank you, Melissa. Jennifer.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm co-chair of the Economic Vitality Committee. We are a new committee, so we don't have any vacancies for the moment. We've actually been meeting more frequently than normal because of the COVID-19 pandemic. We've been meeting bi-weekly. So just a couple of quick updates for everybody here. Thank you very much to the select board, the town manager. The parking meter suspension has been approved to continue through the end of the year. We're trying to do everything we can to support shopping locally and eating locally as our shops and restaurants are in real trouble with the pandemic. So no parking meters will be enforced until the end of the year. I'm sorry, did someone have a question? Oh.
That's my dog barking.
It's all good.
Sorry.
There's some really encouraging news for businesses. There is now both a public and private grant opportunity in place. The community block grant, which was approved a couple of months ago, is now available and in place. The deadline to apply is November 25th. That's the micro grant program. There's $210,000 available for small businesses. There are some pretty stringent requirements to that, but grants are up to $10,000 each. There's also a privately funded grant, the Concord Together Business Grant, which was the result of a community-wide effort. And that grant is now funded at $215,000, much more flexible grant requirements. For the moment, the cap is $2,500. It's open to any Concord-based business, and it's a pretty simple, streamlined application, so please share the word about that. We're very concerned about the upcoming holiday season, and that's going to be the focus of our work over the next couple of meetings, with really significant capacity limitations in place to, keep everyone safe. It's very difficult for the businesses who normally generate about 1/3 of their income in just a couple of months. They won't be able to have the number of people in the stores that they normally could. So we're really pushing to raise awareness in the community to start your holiday shopping early. And we're trying to come up with some creative ideas to support the stores during that time. Also pretty concerned about restaurants. As everyone's noticed, the weather is turning cold suddenly and more severely than September usually does. Once outdoor dining is no longer possible, our restaurants are really going to need some extra support. With that in mind, you've probably seen some of these signs popping up around town that say invest in Concord, shop, dine, take out locally, and you can make a difference. Those signs are available completely free at the visitor center. So anyone who'd like to pick one up and put them out and help just raise awareness of the importance of supporting our local economy. And then the only other thing that I have to report is the movies, the pop-up movies that have been so successful. We were able to secure a sponsor to do one more. Details are in the works and will be forthcoming. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Jennifer. And it sounds like your summer solstice shop in Concord was a great success.
Yes, and actually that is continuing. It's the Fall in Love with Concord event that it ends on October 20th. It's the same rules, the passport that gets filled with 10 stamps. There's a weekly drawing. A little creative twist on that though, the last week of October and first week of September, for any restaurant that you either dine in, dine out, or take out, you get 2 stamps. And at the end of those 2 weeks, there's going to be a drawing for 12 $50 gift cards to restaurants all around Concord. So that will hopefully help drive additional business as well.
Jennifer, I think you meant the last week in September, first week in October. I think, yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Eric?
Thanks, Linda. Good morning. Carmen's predecessor as town moderator tried valiantly for a long time to get town meeting down to fewer than 3 full days. And Carmen, congratulations. You went whole hog for 1 day and 3 hours. It was really magnificent. Well done. The Tax Relief Committee sends out a letter once a year soliciting voluntary charitable contributions for tax relief for families in town that are stressed. Our letter goes out traditionally in the fall, and we'll be meeting within the next month with the Hugh Cargill committee, which is the one that administers the funds. And a month from now, by the time of the next chair's breakfast, hopefully you will all have received an old-fashioned snail mail request for a charitable contribution, tax deductible, of course. No vacancies on the committee.
Thank you. Elizabeth?
Hi, from the zoning board. Following up on what Kristen said, we approved the redevelopment of the West Concord station by Chase. So that is moving forward. Other than that, business as usual for us. We have 1 vacancy for associate member. And just a quick shout out to everyone who got the kids back at school. That's amazing. So thank you so much. We appreciate that. Every day we send our kids to school. So that's it.
Great, thank you. Lee?
Good morning, thank you. So with the passage of Article 16, move forward towards the development phase of the Junction Village project. Most pressing, we'll be trying to finalize the ground lease. And Linda, for your board, we have the Junction Village Open Space Task Force, which needs to be populated. After this, I can email you the committee charge that I assume came from your board, but just so you have it handy. So that task force is going to assist with the open space piece, the conservation restriction. That's a requirement of the project adjacent to the Assabet River.
Lee, if I can interrupt just quickly, the committee you represent is?
Sorry, CHDC, Concord Housing Development Corporation.
Thank you.
And I'm the chair. Yeah, so the conservation restriction needs to be in place concurrently with the building permit, which I think is upcoming. So we need to get moving on that pretty quickly. Other than that, we do have at least 1 vacancy. We've got some flexibility in the number of board members we can have, but Jerry Evans, who is a longstanding member of our board, just moved out of town. So we need at least 1 new board member.
Okay, thank you very much. I know you have a lot of work ahead of you, so good luck with all of that. Jean.
Hi, Jean Goldsberry from the Commission on Disabilities. We had a very busy meeting this month. Peter mentioned the collaboration we're trying to do with the Historic District and the library to ensure that there is adequate and safe handicap parking at the new library. So we had, I think, half of our commission attend the meeting on Monday, and a couple people spoke about concerns about parking and which scenario they felt would be better. we really feel that on-street parking is not safe for people with disabilities, especially those who maybe are able to drive but get out of a car and use a mobility device. It's just not a safe situation. So that's what we're working with the library and HDC on that. We've developed a couple of dashboard cards for cars that are parked illegally. If there's a way to allow me to share my screen, I can show those to you. If not, I can just tell you about them. We developed one.
Jeremy, Jean, excuse me, Jeremy, are you able?
Yeah, Jean, you should, on the bottom, there's a share content. It's green little arrow right there. So if you see that, you should be able to press it and go ahead and share your screen.
Okay, so let me share this. This is the card. These are just four on a page, but a little card to remind people who park in a handicap spot or a disabled parking spot not to do that. We're trying to politely and kindly ask people just to bring awareness. I think the commission felt that there are a lot of people who think, oh, I can park here just for a minute. I just need this for a minute, but then someone comes along and they cannot park. The other one that we made up is to remind people not to park with their wheels on the sidewalk. There are some places where cars park, you know, 2 wheels in the street and 2 wheels on the sidewalk, and that makes it extremely difficult for anyone who uses a wheelchair or even a parent or someone pushing a stroller to be able to get by. And we see people then having to go out around the partially parked car and into the street. So we're, again, trying to politely and kindly just remind people about those parking issues. We also are supporting a request from the Orchard House to have a movable ramp at the School of Philosophy. And that's going to be, they're applying to the AAB. We feel like they have done an amazing job to try to take a very old historic building and make it accessible. It doesn't quite get to the letter of the ADA. I think that one of the doorway openings is 1/4 inch too narrow, but we felt that they've done a really good job of that, and this ramp that they're proposing will be good. And we also have talked about having people from our commission be liaisons to some of the other committees and commissions in town. We've identified a few. So you may, in the next couple of months, be getting a contact or having someone from the Commission on Disabilities join your meeting as a liaison. We just feel like sometimes projects get started and they're pretty far along the path, and then people realize, oh, maybe that wasn't really accessible. Can you help us fix it? And by that time, it's a much more difficult process to fix something afterwards versus be thinking about that in advance. So that's kind of what we did this month.
Thanks, Jean.
And we have no openings.
All right, thank you.
Do you mind sharing that document with those little cards that you showed?
Sure, I'd be happy to send it to anyone who wants some. Or you're welcome to print it and just tuck them on people's windshields if you see somebody parked illegally.
Thank you.
Sure, sure. The other option that we would have is to call the police and have them come and ticket for $150. So we're trying to just politely, kindly say, please don't park here.
Lindsay.
Hi, I am the incoming chair of the library committee. I don't have too much to add this juncture, but Peter and Jean have both talked about the ongoing discussions regarding parking in the new library plan. I will add that we have 2 vacancies that should be filled by the end of this month, so we should be up and running in time for our next meeting in October. And that's all.
Lindsay, my earlier question about whether there were still additional forms that are going to occur for the library parking, can you answer that?
So I've been trying to search in my email. I thought the next one was on the 18th. I can't remember exactly, and for some reason, I try as I may, I cannot find the flyer that I know I have in my inbox. But I'm fairly certain the last one is on the 18th. But I'll try to double check that before we wrap up this morning.
Okay, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
If not, we'll just stay alert for that if it's going to happen.
Okay.
Richard. You're on mute.
I'm one of the 2 new co-chairs of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, along with Nat Welch, who's also on the call. We're one of 3 new members of the committee. There are 5 altogether. We're now full tilt. We're looking forward to the completion of the trail in Concord, because Sudbury is starting to move forward with theirs, and we're taking a site walk actually of the final leg from Powder Mill to the Sudbury line, taking a look in particular at the White Pond area. We're also looking forward to the day when the bridge will be completed over Route 2. That's now under construction, and we're planning a major celebration of that at completion. You could sort of think about when the Transcontinental Railroad met with the Golden Spike and that bridge which will connect Concord and Acton, as well as the communities all the way up to Lowell and then eventually down to Framingham. So it's an exciting time, and it's at the rail trail, and it's also a time of change because we're dealing with operational issues and maintenance. I did meet with the Disability Commission specifically about people wearing masks or not wearing masks on the trail, and also issues related to Junction Square with people not necessarily walking their bikes in an area where they should. But we look forward to building on the success of the trail, and I think anyone who's been on it, who has been around it, understands the incredible resource that this has been. And I have to give a shout out to everybody in town who supported the rail trail over the years through really decades of work to make this a reality, and look forward to this as an example of the ways that we can do alternative transportation in Concord. So glad to be here. Yes, the question?
Like a question from Lee?
Yeah, I'd like to report that on Saturday, Sudbury Town Meeting approved the purchase of the next segment of the CSX corridor running south from the current section towards Framingham.
Correct. That's great news. That will complete their trail to Route 20, basically, and then beyond that is their next phase. So they're I'm not sure where they are on design, but Nat has reached out to Sudbury. A select board member was on our call last time, and to make sure that anything we can do to encourage it, because again, especially once the Route 2 bridge is completed, which is slated for like in less than 2 years, there will be a exponential increase in people arriving in Concord and then eventually arriving at Powder Mill Road, which is not an optimal point to end the trail.
Thank you, Richard. Did you comment on the vacancies?
We have no vacancies right now.
All right, thank
Nat
you.
wants to say something.
Okay.
He's waiting.
I'm not able to identify the phone call.
Nat wanted to say something.
Yeah, Nat's.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
Hi.
Sorry.
Nat, hi.
Hi, just second what Richard said. The other thing that people should be aware of is that Bedford has completed, I think, their 75% plan for paving the reformatory rail trail from the end of the Minuteman to just past Route 62. That will probably take at least 2 years, but it raises a set of questions that the committee is going to be thinking about. As that trail gets completed, it will dump into unpaved section near the Great Meadows. So one of our charges, I think, will be to work with the town to figure out how we want to leverage that in an appropriate way.
No shortage of work for your committee going forward. I can see that.
Yes, we love it. Thank you.
All right. Okay. I am now not seeing any additional. Is there any comments from the public? All right, seeing none or hearing none, I want to thank everybody and remind you that as some of you may already be aware, this is the time of the year when the select board also makes some changes in their liaison assignments. So while many will remain the same, there will be some changes forthcoming. That's just about finalized on the select board's end. And again, Carmen, thank you so much. We look forward to working with you already on FY22 town meeting, and see everyone next month. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Linda. Great job.
Thanks, Linda.
Thank you. Okay. Leave meeting.
Good work, Linda.
Thank you.
Jeremy?
Yes.
Jeremy? Yeah, can you get, just what is your email?
It is first initial, last name. So it's JROMANUL at concordma.gov.
All right.
So you can just send me the note of the new chair.
Yeah, I want to do that. Okay, thanks.
All right. Thank you so much.